Hi, I'm Patty Mays, and this is my writer's blog, and I'm about to read one of my stories called Kitties, Galore and Bountiful Blessings. 66-year-old Lori had just been discharged from the Sunrise Hospital in Las Vegas after being healed once again from another cellulitis infection. 6 days was way too long to be away from her fur baby, Piggy, the pug. Her good friend, Dave, who had been caring for Piggy, picked her up from the hospital and took them both back to their home. That day just so happened to be the 3rd of the month when she received her government benefit check, and like so many months before, Lori justified in her mind why it was okay to heed the hypnotizing call of the hungry slot machines just one more time. So after she had settled back into her little apartment, hugged and played with her puppy dog, relished in her own bed again with a cozy nap, and then prepared herself some dinner, she got in her car and drove to the ATM. Lori had been widowed for 8 years, and she wondered how she was able to continue on without her Dwayne. She wrote poems to him and talked to him and woke up each morning with him on her mind. His name was the last word she said each night before she fell asleep. That night at the casino, she silently prayed to Dwayne that he would shine some luck down from heaven on to her special Kitties Galore slot machine. He kissed each bill before she kissed each bill before she loaded it into the slot, closed her eyes as she pulled down on the lever, and began her 4-hour dance with the one-armed bandit. After all these years, she had perfected a certain strategy in the betting sequence, and had always honored her own performance rules as to when it was time to cash out. All this made it seem to her like it was much more legitimate than just playing gambling games. More often than not, just like this time, all the kitties with pearl necklaces lined up and covered the electronic screen of the slot machine. Bells and whistles sounded as a video of a fountain of money played on the screen. She had just won the $800 jackpot. On her way home at 1 in the morning, while driving on the 15, she heard the horrible and familiar bump, bump, bump of a flat tire. She immediately pulled over and began to cry. 8 years of loneliness and 6 days of hospital incarceration pour out over the steering wheel as she sobs to Dwayne and to God while her fingers search frantically for the hazard light button. She tries to find tissues in her purse and in the glove box with no avail, and ends up using the underside of her shirt. She remembers that the universal sign of car trouble on the highway is to raise the hood, but she also has been advised to never get out of the car when stranded. Looking all around, she doesn't know what for. Sobbing, sniffing, and cursing, Lori slowly opened the door and stepped out. She hurriedly reached under the dash to pull the hood release and then ran around to the front of the car. The wind from the car speeding by whipped her hair all around in such a way that made her look like Medusa, and the dust from the highway made dirty streaks on her cheeks when it whipped and mixed with her tears. She lifted up the heavy hood and latched it in place, and then raced back to the safety of the driver's seat once again. Lori was a resilient woman, but it had been 20 years since she had changed a flat tire. It was too late to call Dave. Besides, she was too embarrassed to explain what she was doing out so late. Was this deserving of a 311 call? She could actually pay for roadside service with her winnings. And just as she was searching on her cell phone for a Fix-A-Flat service, she saw a headlight pull up behind her. Police cars always have two headlights. Her heart shot up in her throat. She had over $800 cash in her purse. Thankfully, she had not rolled down the window. A young man dressed in a black t-shirt with a laughing skull on it and black ball cap walked up to her window. "Hello, ma'am, I see you have a flat. If you'll pop the trunk, I'll see if I can help you with that," he said kindly. "Oh, that's all right. I can have road service come and fix it for me. Don't trouble yourself," Lori said. "It's okay, ma'am. I can get it done for you in a jiffy, and you'll already be on your way before they even get dispatched out of the shop. Besides, they're going to charge you double after midnight." "Well, all right then, if you're sure. Thank you so much." "Yes, I'm sure. Now, you just stay right there in the car and I'll get this going." 15 minutes later, the young man tossed the dirty, dusty flat tire and the jack in the trunk with a thud and a clank. He walked around to the window, which was now halfway down. "All done, ma'am. Don't drive over 50 on that donut, okay? And get it swapped out as soon as possible. You're good to go. Have a good night." Wait, I want to give you this for your trouble. You've been such a lifesaver to me. Thank you so much." Lori waved her hand out the window with a $100 bill folded tightly in her palm. No, really, it wasn't any trouble. I'm sure there's someone that needs that far worse than I do. So if you find them, pay it forward, as they say, and give it to them." With that, the young man hopped in his pickup truck with one headlight and rumbled on down the highway. After that ordeal, Lori needed to regain her composure. So she took the nearest off-ramp and headed in the opposite direction to the IHOP at the previous exit. She went immediately to the restroom and freshened up. Her face really wasn't as dirty as she had thought. She ordered coffee and pie and sat at the table for about an hour, contemplating on the events of her day and of her life. All in all, times were tough. Troubles were often, but she had survived them all and was able to see the sweet contrast of the peaceful spaces and bountiful blessings in between. She silently thanked Dwayne and God for the blessings she had received that day. She was anxious to get back to her piggy boy. After Lori had paid her bill, she walked back over to her waitress and reached for the girl's hand. "I noticed that you were expecting, and I just wanted to congratulate you and give you my best wishes for you and your child. I wish it was more, but I also want to give you this." Lori put her hand over the top of the waitress's hand and smiled. She lovingly placed in the young woman's palm a neatly folded napkin, and drawn on top was a little furry cat face wearing a pearl necklace. Lori started walking towards the door as the waitress opened the napkin to find 4 crisp $100 bills inside. The waitress looked up with tears forming in her eyes, smiled, and mouthed a raspy thank you to Lori's back as Lori exited the restaurant. At 7 a.m., the third shift at IHOP was over, and it was time for Ashley to go home. Waitressing was hard work, especially being pregnant. Pregnant feet also swell up, and her feet and back were killing her, and she couldn't wait to get home and Josh give her a back massage. But more importantly, she couldn't wait to tell him about the $400. With Josh sick with the flu and off work for 2 days last week, they didn't know what they were going to do and how they were going to get caught up. This blessing from her customer was more than enough and then some. Ashley was already thinking of their neighbor who really needed a pedicure, who couldn't afford it. Maybe they could go together now. She clocked out and stood outside waiting for her husband to arrive. A few minutes later, Josh pulled up into the parking lot, and Ashley hopped in and buckled up. She leaned over to give him a hello kiss and took one look at him and exclaimed, "Josh, you're filthy. How'd you get so dirty? Oh, that's your new Assassin's Creed shirt, Josh." Josh smiled and said, "After I dropped you off at work last night, I helped a lady with a flat tire. How was work?"